From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And you are here for a very special edition of Subjective Wars. This is a show where we pick some Star Wars topics. Some are classic debates that we either had on podcasts and other spots here, or just in our lives on the playgrounds and the bars and the workplace break rooms of our lives. And some of them are outside of the box. And today I think it's a combination of all of that. We are going to be debating Max Rebo, arms versus legs. Joseph, this is going to be a big test of our Star Wars hearts.
A big test of our Star Wars hearts, or whatever organs we might have instead of hearts, if we're going to continue the biological debate. Yeah, we have been really embracing with Subjective Wars, being loose, having fun, going for 20 minutes, a half hour. We'll see if we go, 45 minutes, 2 hours on Max Rebo limbs. But we've been deciding the topics right before we get on the air. And this morning, as we sat down to record, the biggest issue in all of Star Wars to us was the endless debate about the Ortolan limbs. So to give this a little bit of background, I'm just going to read the Wikipedia entry. This is under the canon tab for the appearance of the Max Rebo species Ortolan. It says, Ortolans have been inconsistently depicted with and without arms in several pieces of canon media, with some Ortolans resembling the armless depiction described in Star Wars, Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, while others resemble their previous Star Wars Legends description. In a post on StarWars.com detailing behind the scenes for Star Wars Resistance: The Hightower, an Ortolan doll matching the Legends depiction is described as an Ortolan doll with extra limbs. I think this also has to do with one of the original designs of the Ortolan, which is this maquette that there's recently a new version of. Jennifer, you've got that pulled up, right? This replica?
The replica, I do. And I'm troubled by what I see. Because it very clearly looks like his legs. And then if you turn the maquette around, you will notice his buttocks, which I did not want to see. No one asked to see that, but there they are. And I'm glad that they are covered up with his, I forget what organ, what they call that.
The jet ball organ, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that got covered up in the final cut.
It is a hell of a thing, right? There's a lot of crotch and butt forward action going on there in that little statue. Okay, so there's even more information to set up our discussion here on the Legends tab for Ortolans on Wikipedia. Here we go. While the visual evidence from the finished Return of the Jedi film is inconclusive, production sketches for Max Rebo and the construction of the costume itself indicate that the limbs Max uses to play the keyboard are feet rather than hands. Max was intended to be perched on a cushion at the same height as the organ's keys and using his sole two limbs to play the keys. Due to the way the suit was operated, with Simon Williamson's arms performing inside the legs, the positioning of the costume's hips contorted to Williamson's shoulders, distorting the costume's design in the intended effect. Because of this, the 1983 Kenner toy took the interpretation that Max was sitting or standing inside an enclosure of his organ, with the lower part of his body obscured by the instrument and depicted with a roughly humanoid body construction with 2 arms and 2 legs, and I will add, a diaper. Subsequently, the 1989 West End Games sourcebook Galaxy Guide 4 Alien Races continued this depiction, influencing future appearances of the Ortolan species in the expanded universe. Despite this error being rectified in canon, several expanded universe interpretations of Ortolan physiology have still made their way into various pieces of media. Whew. All right. Well, there we go. I think we now have a more clear understanding of how this terrible, terrible conflict between limbs of Max Rebo began. We always like to start by taking our temperature. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Jennifer's temperature on her face as she shakes her head in disgust. Jennifer, even with this revealed truth that it was intended that Max Rebo's limbs were legs and feet with hip joints that rose up to play the piano, this has never been your truth. So are you even remotely open to legs only?
No, they're gaslighting us at this point because I'm looking at stills. Phil Tippett on the set with
Right.
Max Rebo. Those do not look like legs. How they are connected to the the shoulders and whatnot, like it just they clearly look like arms, and they're now trying to retcon this and say that, oh no, it was always legs. But my eyes are not deceiving me. You watch the footage from Return of the Jedi. Those are arms. They are not legs.
Man,
Are you?
look,
Yeah.
quickly, Jen, I know you're busy with school and life. This is the Jedi Beat waiting to happen. The full investigative report.
Yes, yes. And what has given rise to the strong pro leg movement that has gone on? Because you post about this on social media, you'll get some heated responses.
Heated.
Like, they are legs. They have always been legs. It is time to reclaim the legs. Yeah. So Ken, where do you start with this? Are you open to legs? Are you pro arms?
Yes, I am open to the legs. I might, for the sake of this debate, I'll see where you land, Joseph. We've never had a clean sweep from the beginning. I'm open to the legs because it seems so Star Wars-y and like something Phil Tippett would create, just on a like, hey, what if he had legs instead of, I remember when this first started to emerge, and it's one of those things where, I don't know, 95, 96, 2002, I don't know. I can't remember the first time someone was like, well, those are legs. And I rejected it on every level. Heart, mind, soul, body. Where I was like, no. And this speaks to the power of Kenner during this original trilogy era, where so much of what we know, or thought we knew is based on what some executives in Cincinnati, Ohio decided to do with their 3 3/4 figures. Make him stand up. He's got arms. He has arms. He might have had to have legs, but that's all that. I'm open to the legs. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. I'm starting in the same place of like, I have always thought arms because of the Max Rebo Kenner action figure with his little diaper that sat so beautifully in his organ and provided many hours of joy and play for young Joseph Scrimshaw. Also, I like Jennifer's gaslighting point. Wikipedia says it's inconclusive. There is nothing in my thousands of viewings of Return of the Jedi that has ever made me go, wait, have I been like I've freeze framed that to find, extra shots of Bosk. I freeze framed that to watch spit coming out of the Rancor's mouth and analyze that. I have never, ever done any sort of Zapruder film deep dive freeze frame in order to try to make myself believe that those are legs.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think the battle in this discussion for me is, do I want to embrace being a realist or a dreamer? Because I think the real evidence of my eyes is whatever the intention was, you ended up with legs or with arms in Return of the Jedi. But I understand the desire to go, the legs are actually a cool, weird idea. I kind of want them to be legs. And I want to, believe that maybe we can make them legs after all, because it's actually a cooler idea to me.
That's the thing. It's a cooler idea, like literally on paper, on a sketch pad or something like that. It's a cooler idea, but then it just opens up a world of questions of how this really could work and what does that mean? I don't know.
Yes, I that's the problem. Is that I'm currently taking an anatomy and physiology class, and I can tell you that that is not the true anatomy of the Ortolan. I refute it.
Yeah.
I just do not accept it. And yes, going back to the Kenner thing, I have this. This is. I don't know.
Look at. I mean,
like 90s, right? 90s,
look at that little. Look at that
like,
little dumpling.
This is what we grew up believing that. Listen,
he's got little pants.
At least he's covered up. I appreciate that. But I just it just fits, like you said, so perfectly in this thing. Yeah. I just cannot believe that if the Ortolan species does have, what are they saying, that they have 4 legs? Is that what they're saying?
No, they're saying that
two
they
legs,
have,
right?
they're saying that I think the original design and the original intention is that they have 2 limbs, which are
Okay.
jointed at where human hips would be, but they can rise up a bit like hands. And I think the original intention, like I was saying, is like that there isn't any dip in the organ. He's sitting in the middle of the organ, and his legs rise up and go do 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 do. So then that's why the ortolans with more traditional human legs and arms are being described as ortolans with extra limbs, because it should be only legs.
It's absurd. I mean, like, that's just like not biologically, like that type of being would become extinct. How is that practical to scoot around on your butt all day?
I mean,
That
look,
is like not functional.
What
Claude.
we need is Claude.
Claude
That's
would
true.
look at you. It's Jen with some doubt in his eyes.
He's
It is.
squelching along. That's kind
Big
of a
sad
vote.
eyes.
Max Rebo has now, if we believe that he escaped from the sanctuary as well, has escaped death twice. So what we need is a short film from put on Disney Plus of Max Rebo escaping.
Yeah.
The sail barge in the sanctuary, so we can see Max Rebo in motion and see how he locomotes.
The many lives of Max Rebo. That's perfection right there.
So Jennifer, Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna. Your Honor. Ask. No, that doesn't work. The judge doesn't ask people questions, right? You can cross-examine Jen.
No, I totally hear the believe in your eyes, not being gaslit. Those are arms. Jennifer, you love the weirdos in Star Wars, and part of your love of Return of the Jedi is all of the weird and different and fun beings in Jabba's palace. Do you like it in concept that Ortolans could have just weird legs?
I don't like it because I don't like being told after however many years of believing one thing that it now, surprise, is actually wrong. What you believed and based most of your identity on as a child, knowing the Return of the Jedi characters, the species and creatures, and now you're saying, actually, no. And here's the thing that's maddening. Like, I get, like, we look at all the concept art, and there's a lot of variations of what these characters could have been like. But what we judge off of is what we see on screen. I have no problem with Max Rebo having legs playing the keyboard. No problem. But give that to me at the get-go. Even special edition it, George. I'll take that. I like the Sarlacc beak. I can handle that. I cannot handle this idea that based on this concept art, I love you, Phil Tippett, sorry. Based on this concept sculpture that Regal Robot then brought out from the archives, that now we're supposed to change everything, and Wikipedia is left going, I don't know.
We're trying.
It's like
The special editions, I was going to ask you about that. So, Ken, how do you feel about that? How would you feel if George Lucas had been like, for my old pal Phil, I'm going to make this right. I'm making enough changes in this specific scene that I'm going to flip around them limbs and make sure it's real clear their legs.
Now you're touching to the McClunky of it all, where the idea of George sitting around going, get me Kathy on the line. I've got one more thing I want to do, and it's this. Then I think I'd be on board just because of that. Just like I love McClunky because I'm just like, that is amazing that the Rebel in flannel was like, one more change I want to put in there. But at the same time, it would be, it much like a lot of so the Return of the Jedi special editions. That of all the special editions, that one challenges me the most. Though I love the new song at the end. That's one of those things I go with a lot too. But yeah, it might be a bridge too far for me. But I don't know. First of all, I just love too that Jen. You said this is part. I understand it's part of your identity growing up. Like when you think you know. And you know because you see it. And there's no reason to question it. It's like, there goes Jenny Landa. She's a Max Rebo arms truther. That's probably what they said in 4th grade. So I understand the challenge of that. Anyways, to answer your question directly, Joseph, if George did it, I'd have to follow the maker on that.
Yeah. I want George to be with us for, decades and decades. But it would be pretty entertaining if, when he passed, and his will is, probably giving his fortune to various worthy causes, making sure that other children are inspired to tell stories. And then what if there's just a bullet point at the bottom, and those are legs on Max Rebo? Make it so, Disney. The last wish would be pretty powerful. I think we're getting into this sort of philosophical thing about intention versus execution. So, Ken, how do you feel about that? George, the special edition was an act of, I always intended certain things to be this way, and even though you're attached to them, I'm going to make it so on film, so it cannot be denied. And for a long time, people were really angry. And like, I have a friend who's like, we watch these special editions and then I make my children stop, remove the disc from the player, put in the original disc for the Han shot first scene. So like, our generation resisted a lot of those changes for years and years that Lucas made permanent. But I feel like time is passing on. And I feel like if there's plenty of people like, they're not hot and bothered about, like, if you showed them the original the original Jabba's Palace song, they might like it better, but they're not upset about Jedi Rocks. It just is. So how do you measure intention versus execution?
Look, I like David Bowie's Heroes. I like the radio edit of Heroes as well. Okay, sometimes it's more direct, but they both exist, and you can enjoy both. But like to Jen's point, we were all there. Like, I'm not going to deny in 1997 that I didn't go, wait, what? On a lot of it. But some, like, again, Jen, this is another fight. When the victory song played, as much as I loved Yub Nub, I was like, I kind of like that better. That was 97 on. That was my hot take in 97. Yeah, I get it. Because it just, like Jen said, these were toys in our hands. This was the conversations he had. It's not just about trivia knowledge being yanked away. It is what you believed, what you knew. It's different than like, what did you know the Emperor's seat was actually purple? Oh, no, that's a lighting thing. That was, it's not like, did you know the Emperor actually had tentacles? Like, that would have been, like, no, I can't accept that. I can't accept that. And that's a little bit when the Max Rebo news broke. That's what I'm saying. I'm open to when that statue came out, I was like, oh, I guess so. But then it's not even just about the Kenner figure, though. I do want Jen to pull that Kenner figure out again. I think it's amazing. It's not just about that. It is about the reality of it. It's just, no, he's a cute little elephant, and he's got arms and legs to me.
He does. So is it now? You were both Return of the Jedi was your Star Wars film. Did either of you have Walrus Man, the Kenner Walrus Man action figure later? The character's name Ponda Baba.
No.
Wildly inaccurate, right? Of like the colors of what he's wearing, and he's got flipper feet.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I have no problem being like, well, of course, Walrus Man doesn't look like that. But Max Rebo, I have more of an issue with. The action figure is the truth. And maybe it's because it does match what I see on screen. It matches the placement of his shoulders and the way he's playing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Well, I mean, part of it's because if we watch the actual scene with Ponda Baba and the different hands, that is what we see on screen. That difference in the hands, right? We cannot deny that with our eyes. If there was another cut where there's some random cut of him using his legs as they're clearly looking like legs using the keyboard, then I would accept it. But again, all we see in the film are clearly what looks like arms.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They're arms.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So none of us are moving off of our strong opinion that in the film Return of the Jedi, the character Max Rebo has arms. Bleep it. But let's talk. Max Rebo is not the only Ortolan in the galaxy. How would we feel if this was an issue like whether Mandalorians keep their helmets on at all times, and there's a difference. There's different of physiology among the species, and Max Rebo happens to have arms, but plenty of Ortolans just have legs. Ken, would you be okay with that?
I think I could follow that path if Neil, who we believe appears to be an Ortolan of sorts, at least at best as we know now, in Skeleton Crew, shows up and is like, yeah, I had an uncle who played the Red Ball jet organ and he only had legs. Like, if he says that, and there was some evolutionary reasons behind it, or just different parts of the planet, much like, Admiral Radis and Admiral Akbar are from two different parts of Mon Cala. Like, okay. And it would be a fun tip of the cap. A tip of the cap to tip it.
Yeah. Jennifer, how would you feel if we met a different Ortolan who absolutely has legs and only legs, jointed there, having fun, getting around?
I have no problem with that. I have no problem if there's variations in the species, just like with humans. There are some humans who have to use their feet for hands, and that is remarkable, right? So I have no problem with that, but I do have a problem if it's changed midway, especially when his arms are used to play the keyboard. If he was just like hanging out, I wouldn't have as much, like, it just, again, don't deny what I see with my own eyes. Just because you think it's fun and kitschy to change it.
Doesn't he do like a not quite a finger gun, but doesn't he do the little like kind of tapping with his like kind of? He's got a little bit of a finger gesture, right?
Yeah, like Ken's doing. It's kind of like almost like
he's playing like this.
Because he's playing, but he also has a moment where he's kind of like, yeah, this is going great. Like he's air conducting, right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say yes or no because for years I thought X-wings hit the shield generator on the Death Star, the shield on the Death Star in Return of the Jedi, but that didn't happen. So sometimes I imagine things. So
I was just entertained by that. Of like, is that he wasn't doing a finger gun? He was doing a toe gun. All right, that's very entertaining. All right, so for we're all leaning arms, but for those people out there who are dreamers and say the original intent was legs, if I just look at it, Return of the Jedi the right way, I can see legs. If I look at Book of Boba Fett the right way, I see legs. Are those people's dreams going to be crushed if Neil in Skeleton Crew is an Ortolan and does just walk around with four limbs everywhere? Ken, how do you feel about? Do you feel for the leg believers out there?
I do feel for the leg believers. The leg truthers. I also think you just predicted a Screen Rant headline that will say Star Wars destroys lore of one of the greatest all-time characters. That'll be their headline. I'd feel bad. I feel bad. Just like I feel bad for Jen losing Yubnub. I both feel bad. I'm happy, but I'm sad you're sad.
Wait, you're happy that Yubnub is gone?
I have it on cassette.
We did the wrong topic. We need to do. We really do need to do that because that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Knew you.
Next time. Look, I love dancing to it. I may sing it to a chihuahua every now and then, but Victory Song just.
I would love to hear a jazzy version of Yubnub played by Max Rebo with his feet. And then I think
there you go.
We could all be happy with that. Jennifer, how would you feel? Feel vindicated? Would you feel bad for the leg dreamers if Neil just as clearly has the same four limbs as the Max Rebo action figure?
I don't know if I've encountered too many leg dreamers who have challenged me. I suspect, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone, I suspect that they kind of are like doing it like a haha, I know is fun fact. To which I say, haha, I can see with my eyes that they are arms. So, I mean, look, anything is possible in Star Wars, as we know. Things are always changing, as we know. And I can go with the flow. I can get behind it. But this is one I just cannot, because we have seen so much concept art pulled from the vaults over the years, concept sculptures, that there is a reason why they did not make it to the final film. And I think the reason why is because no one wants to see Max Rebo's legs and butt. It's just quite a sight. It's just a little bit too wacky, and Star Wars is already wacky, but that's a road that they did not want to go down. And I think that there's a reason why, which is why I believe they are arms. Your Honor.
So you would so you're pulling for Neil to very clearly have four limbs and for the leg myth to be crushed.
Yeah, and if they do it like you're saying, as a joke, right? Like, oh, my uncle, blah, blah, blah. That's okay to acknowledge it in some way. I'm fine with that.
I don't have. We always talk about trying to speculate responsibly and not getting too attached to things before shows. And there's a couple of shows where I've gotten maybe a little bit too attached to what I had hoped would happen and needed to readjust. For Skeleton Crew, the only thing I'm obsessed with is it feels like the kind of show where if they're going to have an Ortolan as a main character, they're going to do a joke about this or an acknowledgement of this, or they're going to crash land on the planet of the Ortolans, and the extra limbs will be at war with the leg Ortolans or something.
Look, we haven't seen Neil's parents. Max was on the road a lot. We don't know what his home life was like. He could be, one of those your papa was a Rolling Stone type of situation where Neil's like, my dad was in a band. That could be the reference. I keep saying uncle. It could be his dad.
Oh, you're pulling for the direct relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, then we're going to get the Screen Rant headlines of, Star Wars keeps going back to legacy characters. Is everybody connected back to the Skywalker saga? Neil has to be Max Rebo's nephew. Can't just be another Ortolan. Let's expand the galaxy.
Expand the galaxy with more Ortolans.
But, to that point, I really hope that he is an Ortolan, because here again, we all are looking, it's a blue elephant, right? And it sure looks like Max Rebo, but I'm just preparing myself for them to be like, actually, it's not an Ortolan. It's a similar species, such as the blah, blah, blah. And it's like, gosh, dang it, Star Wars went up to me again.
There's sometimes the joke about people seeing imaginary things, and sometimes it's like seeing pink elephants or even like Snuffleupagus, originally on Sesame Street, where so it's kind of funny when we're discussing gaslighting, and Jennifer's adamant like, I saw the blue elephant, it's real, don't deny it, he's a blue elephant, I saw him, he's in my house right now.
Look. That was a big day in pop culture where the rest of Sesame Street finally saw Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, big day. Absolutely.
Oh,
so,
my God.
Ken, as we head toward wrapping up here, I want to go back to something that Jennifer said. I think that clearly Max Rebo was designed with this very weird design of, his maybe he got a diaper, but legs, only limbs, clearly playing with his feet, just very weird and alien. I feel like it started there, and then it was we don't have the time or the resources to make it happen, and it ends up, it was our intention to be legs, but it ends up they're at shoulder height, so they look like shoulders. Do you feel like if you could travel back in time, want the legs to happen? I'm not talking about whether the Return of the Jedi looks like legs. I'm saying, if you could travel back in time and find the budget and the time and make Phil Tippett's dreams come true and execute the legs, would you want to do that?
Yes, that might have been the spirit of my initial comments of I'm open to it if it had been there all the time. Agree with you, Jen. I see what we see, but there's something about that I do like. You see a lot of those concept arts, Jabba, the different variations of Jabba. We could be having a discussion about blue Yoda versus green Yoda, like all those kind of things. There's something about that I absolutely would have loved and been obsessed with growing up as a Star Wars fan. So
so not too weird of a design for you.
No, and it would, again, it would have had to look different, but if they'd been able to do it and pull off all their dreams and make them come true in Return of the Jedi, I would have been on board.
And would you wanted to see his butt crack in the film?
Oh, yeah, that's probably the only reason I bought the ticket, or had my parents buy the ticket. I mean, come on. The Max Rebo band is a sexy outfit. Droopy McCool's not in much. Let's be honest.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's not in much.
Let's get Droopy back out there.
Speaking, Sai is a Gen Z boss in a mini. Got it.
All right, so we have reached almost a half an hour discussing this with a little side trip into the great Yub Nub victory celebration debate, which we will return to. So I think it's time to reveal our final thoughts. If anything has moved us, we make up different sort of criteria along the way, and we floated back and forth. This is a conversation about Max Rebo's truth versus what is the truth of the Ortolan. So we can really vote however we want. But at the end of the day, for you, Jennifer, Ortolans, arms, legs, where do you land? What's your final vote?
I would have loved to have had them be legs initially. I think it would have been a wonderfully weird choice. Butt crack, sure, I'll take it. It's the 80s. But I think the challenge that I have is not just like where they are connected on Max Rebo's body, but the fact that like he does resemble an elephant so much. And if you put the Max Rebo action figure, like, look, he totally looks like an elephant, right? So then they were like, oh, we're going to make it a little weird and make the elephant upright. And now he's going to be playing a keyboard. And so in the end, he has arms, not legs, as much as we wish they were otherwise.
For anybody who is just listening, it's worth coming to check out this moment. Oh, it's fine. It's worth coming to check out this moment of YouTube where Jennifer had posed Max Rebo like he was an actual elephant. Kind of looked like a toddler getting up, or maybe a middle-aged man attempting to break dance.
Yep.
Me in the morning.
Very funny. Very funny. All right, Ken, where do you go?
Always open to wild ideas, crazy, wacky, pulpy Star Wars ideas. I would have accepted the legs. But those are arms, baby. Those are arms. Max Rebo is an arm-playing Ortolan. And he's working that red ball jet organ, whatever it is. I can't remember.
All right.
That's it.
This is a great position to be in where my vote doesn't matter at all because the arms have been determined. But that's okay because I'm going to be wishy-washy. I cannot deny the truth of my eyes in my action figure. Max Rebo, whatever the intention was executed with arms or legs at a shoulder height, which then becomes an issue of semantics, which we didn't even get into. Anyway, Max Rebo has arm-like limbs, clearly. So I'm voting for Max Rebo having arms, but I'm voting big time for Ortolans to have legs. It is not too late. I don't think all of the computer generated work is completed on the Skeleton Crew. If it is, go back, pay people a lot, give Neil them legs. I believe in the legs. I believe in the weirdness of that design, and I believe in the weirdness of this tradition of Star Wars, where you have an idea that starts and spreads in just in bizarre ways. I want the Ortolans to be like Boba Fett, where Lucas and his great team of designers designed Boba Fett, coolest looking guy ever. The legend spreads. He's a Mandalorian. All of this Mandalorian lore grows up around that armor, that look. And then George is like, yeah, but not him. He's not a Mandalorian. And I know now it's a whole issue of it. He's the son of a foundling and all that stuff. That stuff. I would love it if Max Rebo is how we met Ortolans, but he's the only one with arms. And all the rest of them have legs. I think it would be a fine tradition of Star Wars.
I think that's well said. Well said.
Thank you.
I also love, in my mind, Kermit the Frog is on a log singing about Max Rebo has legs, the dreamer's in me.
Well, we will be back to talk more songs, but for now, that's it. Please let us know in the comments your strong emotions on this extremely sensitive and high-octane issue. Ken, you want to take us home?
I do. We're ForceCenter. We can be found on social media at ForceCenter Pod. We're also on Instagram and YouTube. If you're watching here, subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you would. We're a podcast at first and at heart, and always will be. Podcast available on a lot of spots. Just search. You'll find us. Merch available. tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. And we have a fourth wall shop linked down below if you're watching on YouTube. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Get into our Discord there, where I imagine this debate will continue to rage politely and supportively. Arms versus legs. You can follow me at Ken Napzok. Go to my website, kennapzok.com, for more on shows, things for sale, and more. Jen, where can they find you? And I'm sure share their opinions with you because you've probably got some supporters here today.
Oh, yes. If you're a leg truther, I'm sorry. I still love you. You can find me on all the social media sites at Jennifer Landa or TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138. There
you go, Joseph. Well done today, getting us through one of our tougher discussions, and more to come with the Ubnub versus Victory song, Victory Celebration. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media at Joseph Scrimshaw. You can go to my website at josephscrimshaw.com to keep up with all the different things I'm doing, including mostly working on film stuff. There's now a link on my website if you'd like to help out with the feature film that I'm working on. There's some information right on the front of my website, josephscrimshaw.com. And if you want to follow me on social media, maybe I'll start a hashtag for getting an original design Max Rebo action figure that won't fit in his organ at all.
Yeah,
but
at all.
it'd be fun. It would be fun. That is it. We have fought the subjective wars.